Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
Hey, let's do some electric lawn care.
All right. So this is the Wild Badger 4-in-1 multi-tool. And essentially what this is it's a weed whacker with multiple different attachments for the end. So this set comes with 4 different attachments. The first one, of course, is a weed whacker or a string trimmer or a scrimmer. There's lots of different names for this, but it's basically this thing, except instead of this on the end, you have your string attachment. Let's talk about this one. This is your brush cutter.
Yeah, 10-inch brush cutter. I just want to point out, if you're used to a gas one of these and you put that brush cutter on there, it's the one tool that's going to feel different because it's got mass. When you fire it up on a gas one, it's like, right? When you fire it up with electric, because you got instant torque, it goes,
Yeah.
and thing kind of moves.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that, because this is one of the most dangerous tools in the bunch.
Then you also get a 16-inch Hedge trimmer with adjustability. And finally, you get an 8-inch pole saw. So a lot of different tools here. Where do you want to begin?
I'd like to begin with the price. For $250 retail, and I've seen it on sale for like $224, you can get all these tools. And I kind of feel like for most weekend warrior use, this is a really good deal, because normally you have to go out and kind of buy these separately. And a lot of them just sit in your garage or shed for most of the year, because how often are you going out there and doing pole sawing? Like once every year, once every 2 years? I also just want to recommend, this might be a good set to go in on with your family or your neighbors, because again, these are tools that you're not going to need all the time. And like, why should each of you have your own, weed whacker, your own pole trimmer? Like, these are things that you can share easily.
Yeah. So let's start off with the weed whacker attachment. It's, I would say it's pretty good. If you're not used to an electric weed whacker, there are some advantages which are going to be carried across all of these. The first one is, if you're coming from a gas weed whacker, this is going to be a heck of a lot quieter.
Oh my God, so much quieter, so much, no stink. And it just makes, it's on when you turn it on. And so you're just going to walk around for a lot of the time with it off, instead of having to have,
that's right.
You're spending a lot of your time just looking for things to whack. And so it's not on when you're doing that, and you just boop, turn it on. It's got a nice safety. So there's no battery in here now. So you push this, pull this, and it turns on. So very hard to turn on accidentally.
And I think you're right. Even when it's on, it's very quiet, but most of the time you can just have it off. And instead of having to do the pull start thing and, hitting the little bubble to add the gas into the thing, you don't have to worry about any of that. You just plug in the 2 batteries and it's ready to go.
Let's talk about the 2 batteries. So you have to have both of these on here for it to run, so you get the full 40 volts. It doesn't add much weight because these are pretty light batteries, but they don't hold a lot of energy in terms of how long you're going to be using this for. So let's kind of be honest here. If you are a occasional weed whacker or occasional hedge trimmer, this is fine for you. If you are one of those guys who wants to go out there for 6 hours and you got 2 acres of land, this isn't going to cut it, because when you throw these on the charger, you have to throw one on at a time, and each one's going to take a couple hours. And so it's pretty much end of the day for you.
Now, you can buy extra chargers and extra batteries from Wild Badger, and they're not that expensive.
These aren't expensive at all. $35
for a battery.
So you could just throw in a couple more batteries, and that way, while you're charging, except, yes, buy another charger so you have 2 chargers if you're going to do that.
I think that would probably be the way to go, because then if you had, we're starting to add cost here. If we say, oh, buy 2 batteries, that's $70. Then buy another charger, that's, another $30. Another $30. Another $100 just to, basically do almost continuous work.
Yeah, if you're gonna go heavy duty, I would go with something like the Ego system. They have a 56 volt battery. It has more amp hours, and if that's gonna run longer. But if you've got a small property, or if you're just gonna do little weekend warrior stuff, this I think is perfect.
Next, let's talk about the brush cutter.
Yeah.
So basically take a weed whacker, and instead of having, hitting stuff with string, you're hitting stuff with a big metal blade. This comes pretty sharp, and it spins very fast. And what you were saying earlier is that it kicks on really, really, really fast.
Yeah, be very careful with this. It's the one thing where, a string trimmer, you can hurt yourself, but it's more of a ouch.
This is more of an emergency room visit, and you're probably going to lose some toes if you do the wrong thing.
So I would just recommend get used to it slowly and safely, and wear the appropriate gear.
Steel-toed boots, maybe go chainsaw chaps or something like that. Something to keep you a little bit more safe.
I would wear a full face guard, because this thing, if it hits some gravel, it's going to kick it up, and even safety glasses may not help you then.
Right. So
Definitely don't do anything in shorts.
But the nice part was that we were cutting through lots of big stuff.
Yeah, now if you're attacking, say, bittersweet, a string trimmer isn't going to do it.
Yep.
This will do it.
And it's nice that it comes with the kit.
Yeah.
Next, let's talk about the Hedge trimmer.
What I really like about this Hedge trimmer is really easily with just 2 hands, you can squeeze this and you can change the attack angle. So you can put whatever angle makes sense for what you're doing. And that's easy to do. There's no tools required. The other thing I like about these attachments is that you're seeing here, it only takes about 30 seconds to change out the attachments. There's no tools needed, so you're not gonna have to go find the lost Allen key or whatever. It just turns on right here, and you're good to go. So you can swap out your tools really fast.
The only downside I will say with this Hedge trimmer is that it only has one position that it'll run in, meaning that while you can adjust this, you can't adjust this in relation to the main piece. And that means that if you are doing like a lot of flat stuff like this, you're gonna have to turn the trimmer on its side. Lastly, let's talk about the pole saw. So this is a little mini chainsaw, and the power is coming from the electrical motor back there.
I want to point out that right here is the bar oil.
Don't forget this.
And they don't ship any with it, so you're going to need some of it. You don't probably need this much, but it uses it as you go. Right. So don't use it without it.
Bar and chain oil is essentially lubricating the bar and the chain. Since you have a lot of metal on metal contact, you need to be lubricating it. Otherwise, you are going to break this thing. So you definitely need to use bar and chain oil. Again, it doesn't come with it, but bar and chain oil is not that expensive, and you can get it at most hardware stores.
Yeah. And as you're seeing here, it cuts really well, and it's great for those kind of projects where you're like, oh, it's a little too high. Do I get a ladder? Now you're on a ladder with a chainsaw, and probably not a good idea. So this feels very safe, and it's very easy to do. I'll say if you're watching this and you're like, well, I'm not really into this kind of stuff, but I do need to get it done. I'll say that I think that you can do it. Like, this is stuff that any homeowner who just takes their time can do, and you'll get comfortable slowly and you'll be doing it. Is this up to landscape pro quality? No. This wouldn't last you like a whole season of doing it every day. This is designed, in my opinion, for doing homeowner stuff, and I think it would last you for years. It has a 3-year warranty. I think if you take care of it and you use it occasionally, it should last you for years.
Definitely, and I think that the savings might be a little bit hard to see here. Obviously, the price is not very much. Electric lawn equipment has come down a lot. This is why we talked with Wild Badger, because they have very affordable electric stuff. And I think that the advantages are not only that it's fairly inexpensive, but you don't have to buy any gas, you don't have to mix any oil in with it. That takes time and energy.
And you're sharing the batteries.
You're sharing the batteries. Your ears are going to be less impacted. Your lungs are going to be less impacted.
And I want to point out the amount of weight you have to make a 2-stroke engine is more weight than the 2 batteries and the little motor. So you're actually carrying around more weight with a gas-powered one. And so this is easier on your back.
And it also is less hot. There isn't any explosions happening in this thing, which means that it's going to be a lot cooler to the touch, which means that it's safer for kids. If you put down the piece of lawn equipment, kids are not going to be able to burn themselves, and you are not going to be able to burn yourself. And also, having a hot exhaust blowing somewhere is not fun in the height of summer.
Look, I remember the days of the gas-powered, right? You had to have the oil, you had to have the gasoline, you had to clean this thoroughly at the end of the season, or it wasn't going to work the next season. And you don't know when the end of the season is, because if you're like in New England, it could be October, it could be November, it could be December. So you're never quite sure when that's supposed to happen. There's so many maintenance issues with gas powered. I threw out so many units that I couldn't get working again. And I mean, you become a small engine expert and you still can't do it. Electric is so nice. There's virtually no maintenance at all. And you might be asking about the assembly, because it doesn't come exactly like this. It comes in a box and you have to put some things together. It took about 15 minutes for each of these to get them ready to go. And then once they're ready to go, like we showed you, they just kind of pop together. The only thing that isn't fast is when you change the head from a string trimmer to a 10-inch trimmer. And that took us about, what would you say, 3 minutes?
Yeah, and if you knew what you're doing, you could definitely do it in a minute and a half.
Right. And then just keep track of, there's going to be some parts you need to keep track of for your string trimmer. Keep it, with it, because next time you need to do the string trimming, you're going to be like, I got to switch it out again. But other than that switch, which, by the way, maybe you don't even need to do. I mean, if you're the kind of person who doesn't do a lot of hard trimming, you might just leave it with the string trimmer on.
But I hear you. You're saying, look, if I'm going to be getting into a new tool brand, then I better be able to use these batteries for lots of different things. Not a ton of different things that Wild Badger currently offers in the 20-volt segment. The first thing actually doesn't relate to the batteries at all. You can get an edger attachment for this. So if you wanted to add a fifth component to this one tool, it's only $70, which I think is a pretty decent value. And you get to do kind of that more edging. It's almost like a vertical weed whacker.
Next up is their cordless chainsaws. They got a 12-inch and a 16-inch. You'll have to see which one fits what system you bought. But basically, that would be another thing that you might be able to share batteries with. The 12-inch chainsaw is $125, and the 16-inch is $197. Now, you can't buy a separate leaf blower from them that's electric, but you can buy a kit that has a weed whacker and a leaf blower, unfortunately, because I would have thought the next thing I would like to add to this would be a cordless leaf blower. So that's kind of a bummer because they do have it, but you'd have to buy it with a weed whacker that you already have. But I guess you could give one to your neighbor.
So I would definitely say that there aren't that many tools that this can be added to. I know that a lot of like tool brands like Milwaukee are starting to come out with actual lawn equipment that works like with the drill and with the saw. So having something that isn't as compatible means that your batteries are always going to be at hand, because if you're not weed whacking, the batteries are probably going to be sitting on the charger or next to it. And instead of being, oh, I left them in my truck over in my best friend's apartment because he's working on something, you're always going to have these. I'm just kind of refreshed to see that the batteries aren't how they're making their money. A lot of these other brands of things like DeWalt or Milwaukee will sell you the drill. The tool is almost free.
And then they'll get you kind of like the ink cartridge thing. They'll get you with the battery. And you're like, how is that $70 for a battery or something?
Or $100 for a battery.
So these being $35, that's a very reasonable price. And I feel like that is one huge advantage of this system is like because let's be honest, one of your fears, right, is what happens if the battery dies and you can't get it back to life? Well, if it's $35, it's not that big a deal.
I mean, $35 is going to be a couple of tanks of gas, and you're probably going to be paying pennies for this electricity. So even if these batteries die after maybe 2 years and you have to replace it, it's really not that bad.
Yeah. I mean, I used to always have to wear hearing protection when I did it with gas, and now it's like kind of optional because it's so quiet.
And it turns on and off so much faster and so much quieter.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you have questions about this product or others that we review, please let us know. We love electric products and we want to know what's on your mind. So let us know in the comments down below. And don't forget, hit the subscribe button and the like button so you don't miss our upcoming content.
Thanks so much for watching on Now Let's Review.